I used to be a terrible photographer and an even worse freelancer. I couldn't take good photos, clients didn't know I existed, and I was stuck in a job I hated. Fast forward a few years later, and I've worked with over 50 companies to transform their online presence with product photography. There are 5 big reasons most photographers struggle in their career. These are the lessons I learned the hard way. I'm sharing the mistakes I learned along the way in hopes that you won't make the same mistakes that I did. Let's get into it. Why should you trust anything I have to say? If it's your first time here, my name is Chris Pieta. I run a production company, and in my spare time, I teach others how to run a creative business. In the past 30 days, I've also pulled in over 23 grand, so I know a little about what I'm doing. But that wasn't always the case. Back in 2019, I had no idea how to make money from photography. Over time, I learned, and these are the 5 reasons most photographers struggle in their career. A lot of photographers struggle in their career because they're bad at photography. Their portfolios suck. They don't know much about lighting. Maybe they bought a camera because they heard you can make a quick buck taking photos and assume that the camera does all the work for you. Whatever the reason, if you're bad at this game, no one will want to pay you for it. You need to pay your dues. Getting good at something takes time. It takes practice, and not just any practice. You need to practice, analyze your work, figure out where you're lacking, and improve those areas. I have no formal photography education. I used to be terrible, but every day I would go out and shoot, and over time I would get better and better. I started out doing landscape and cityscape photography, moved on to portraits, and eventually graduated to product photography. I got really good at landscape photography, so I assumed product photography would be easy. I was wrong. I had to learn all about lighting products. I had to learn about flash, about continuous lighting, all these new things. I thought I was a good photographer, but when I switched to product photography, I sucked, and I realized that. I knew I had to start over and get better, and that's exactly what I did. I practiced and watched YouTube videos of how the pros did it, and when I thought I was decent enough to attract some low-budget clients, I went for it. I started small with coffee shops, and over time, as my skills grew, so did my clients. I went for bigger and bigger clients, and now some of the companies I work with are big national brands. Being self-aware as a photographer, and especially as a creative business owner, is so important to your success. If you think you're the best, but in reality you suck, that's going to get in your way. How do you know if you're good? If people are willing to pay you, chances are you're good. But what if you're still good but can't get any clients? That brings me to point number 2. The biggest complaint I hear from fellow photographers trying to make it in this industry is that they can't get clients. If you want to be a professional photographer, you need clients. If you want to keep your business and yourself alive, you need money for that. Clients are the lifeblood of your business. If you can learn how to acquire clients, all the rest comes easy. But how do you actually get clients? When people ask me this on Instagram, I'll go out and check their profile out. By the way, I post educational reels every day on Instagram. Just look up Chris Pieta on there. Anyway, I'll go to someone's profile and I'll see their photos, and they're all over the place. I see product photos, I see landscape photography, I see portraits and headshots. Simply put, they don't have a niche. I don't know what type of photography they're offering. They seem like a jack of all trades, and they don't come off as an expert in any one of the 10 niches they're posting. If you want to attract quality clients, you need to niche down. That means only posting about that niche. This means creating a website focused around that niche. If you go to my company website, you'll see all the photos there are product photos. And not just any products, they're all food and beverage clients. When a prospective client visits my website, they know exactly what I do. I take product photos for food and beverage companies. This portrays me as an expert in that area. This means I've worked with brands like them before. They can picture in their head what working with me would be like, all because I'm niched down. If you want clients, niche down. Like Alex Hormozi says, riches are in the niches. Now, I have a whole free course on how to get your first paying clients. It's on my website. It's free. It's linked down below. But let me quickly summarize here. Once you've got that website and portfolio in a niche, you need to go get clients to that website. How do we do this? Well, we can spend money on ads, post a lot of Instagram reels, or my personal favorite, we can do cold outreach, specifically cold email. Cold email is simply finding brands or people to reach out to, emailing them what you do, and ending the email with an ask from them. This is how I do it. I'll go to Amazon and look up a product category, let's say boba tea. I then take all the boba tea brands I can find, go and compile a Google sheet with the company names. Next, I would go to their websites or to LinkedIn Sales Navigator and then find their email addresses. Once I find their emails, I send a cold email introducing myself, adding a credibility statement, and then asking for a phone call. From there, we go on a call, I send a proposal, and I close a deal. In reality, 90% of the brands will say no to that phone call. So it becomes a numbers game. I go really in depth into this in my free course, so check that out if it sounds interesting. Link below. Okay, so you've had some clients, but no repeat clients. You've been able to sell your service, but after one project, the client ends up going to someone else. What's happening here? As a creative professional, we need to be just that, professional. If you're not acting professional around your clients, they have a lot of options to choose from nowadays. What makes you stand out? What makes you special? Professionalism comes down to how you carry yourself with your clients. This can mean fast turnaround times. It also means if you say you're going to do something this week, you stick to that no matter what. And if something comes up and there's no way you can finish a project on the given timeline, you communicate that with the client. Even better, you communicate and offer some freebie because you failed to deliver the assets on time. Put yourself in the client's shoes. You're waiting all week for 10 product photos and you don't hear back from the photographer at all. You're expecting them Friday and all you get is radio silence. You're not going to want to work with this photographer again. On the other hand, if you hear from the photographer and they say that the photos are still in the works, but because they're taking longer than expected, they're throwing in an extra 2 photos at no extra charge to you. The photographer was professional, they communicated the issue, and they made it right by offering those bonus photos. One super simple thing you can do to be more professional is to respond to your emails quickly. I've heard of creatives waiting days to respond to a client. Why? If you get an email from a client in your inbox, respond immediately. Why wait? Do you think you're going to come off as desperate or something? If you respond immediately, the client gets the answers they need and the email is done with. It's no longer bothering you in your head, you've cleared that mental space, and you've accomplished a task. You want to be professional, but you also don't want to come off as a pushover. If a client tells you they can't pay the invoice for a couple weeks, tell them you can't get started on the project until the invoice is paid. Maintain that professionalism, but don't come off rude. When interacting with clients, just use common sense and always try and do the right thing. If you operate with these 2 principles in mind, you'll be professional. Okay, so you've gotten some clients and maybe you've made some money, but it doesn't seem to be cutting it. You are barely making a profit, and with all the gear you need, the softwares, and potential contractors to pay, you're not gonna last long. The first question to ask yourself is, are you charging enough? When you tell clients how much you charge, do they try and push back, or do they just accept the rate as is? If clients don't push back, you need to raise your rates, and not just 10%. I'm talking about doubling your rate. Keep increasing that rate until people start saying no. If you get a no from a client, you can always go into the negotiation stage of things. That's good. You can either lower your rate, which I don't recommend, or you can offer to add in more photos at your rate. By adding in more photos, you're providing more value for them while still maintaining a high ticket item. Now moving on to the other side of this, your rate is already high, but you're just scraping by. This means you're not getting enough clients. We need to go back to our client acquisition system for this. You're getting clients, so that means you're cold emailing. But how often are you sending emails? Do you send emails, sign a client, and then stop sending emails to focus on the project? This is a recipe for disaster because your leads are going to dry up. You need to be consistently sending emails even while you're working on fulfilling your other client. This way, when you finish one project, you'll be able to move on to the next without any break in revenue. You've got a consistent pipeline of clients flowing in, all because you're doing the work. Sending emails is boring work, but it pays the bills and allows you to focus on what you love. Focus on the big picture and all the small stuff will be easier to do. Last but not least, we've got taxes and all the legal stuff. This sucks, and I don't like doing it either, but you gotta. You need to be compliant with the law or else you're going down. Now, I'm not a lawyer and this is not legal advice, this is just what I've done. If you've had any success and you're making decent money, go get an accountant. I use an agency called Collective. I'll link them down below. They do all my taxes, bookkeeping, and accounting for under $300 a month. What I used to do before that, I used QuickBooks for my accounting. I watched a few videos, read their guides, and learned basic bookkeeping. I then had to file my taxes manually, which was a pain, but if you follow the instructions from the IRS, it's not that bad. Remember, if you're making any money from this, you need to be paying taxes quarterly now. That means 4 times a year. Then there's all sorts of other legal stuff. You need to form an LLC. I recommend using Better Legal. They'll do everything for you for a couple hundred. It's way easier than doing it yourself and you won't mess anything up. There's a discount of $100 down below if you use my link. But if you still want to do it yourself, just go through your state's website. This legal stuff and taxes sucks, but you gotta do it. If you don't, you will fail. And that's all I've got. I've linked a lot of things down below for you to check out for further learning. My name is Chris Pieta. There's a video right here that I know you'll love, and I'll see you in the next one.